Well, Santiago, thank you so much for helping with my project. Could you say a little bit about yourself?
Well, my name is Santiago. I'm from Argentina. Um, I'm a big fan of Elon Musk. Um, and I don't know if I'm able to, but I would like to work in SpaceX someday.
Yeah, I think that would be amazing to work there. I've often wanted to work at SpaceX myself. Uh, so, did you know that NASA is planning to send people to the moon in 2024?
Yes, I was told about that because I follow this kind of news in my daily life, but I don't know specifically what they want to do with the people, with those people. Sorry.
Well, since the last time we went to the moon in 1972, we've discovered that in the permanently shadowed craters on near the poles of the moon, that there's actually ice that has frozen or that's there. And we think that could be used as rocket fuel, water for the astronauts, air for the astronauts. And so this could make developing a facility on the moon much cheaper than it would have been if there wasn't ice.
Okay.
Also, there's a lot we don't know about the moon. Um, so that maybe a lot of discovery. But in terms of us going back to the moon, you said you weren't sure what we're going to do there. Um, are you excited about us going back, or do you have some questions, or do you think maybe we should be doing something else?
Well, I don't think that the moon should be a specific, goal for the humanity to investigate. I think that we kind of have to look for new planets where where we're able to live on. For example, what's Elon doing to go to Mars? You know that he's um, trying to send people in 2025, I think, and these kind of things. Maybe I like um, those corporations or maybe the NASA to investigate for extraterrestrial life, uh, because I don't think that we have to con- communicate with them, because that may be something too dangerous for the humanity and for our future even. But just I'm saying that we have to be sure about um, if they exist or they don't exist, and maybe to know where they are specifically to be more secure.
Yeah, it is amazing to think about the number of stars there are in the galaxy and how many planets there have been discovered around those stars. It's almost, it seems impossible that we would be alone, that there has to be life someplace else in the galaxy. But how far away is it? Is it, a few light years away, dozen light years away, 100 light years away? And
Totally. And many people usually call me crazy because I think that there may exist other kind of I don't know how to explain. Sorry because of this, but you know another kind of life. I don't know how to say it. Tell me if you can help me.
like aliens are extraterrestrials.
Exactly. I'm not saying they are like in the movies that they have big heads and they have those big black eyes. I'm saying that they may exist, and that
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, they almost certainly do exist someplace in the galaxy, and it's really questionable if we will get to ever actually interact with them. But if they had the technology to make it all the way here, that technology would be so beyond our ability to understand it. Uh, and so it's really difficult to understand what they would be like, and their
And
capability.
I don't even say that they have already come to the earth, because many people used to say that I think that they have already come and they have talked with many people. I'm not saying this. I'm saying that they exist. We don't know where they are. We don't know uh, if they are near to us. I don't know what they want to do with us. I don't know if they want to, they want us to be their slaves. I don't know. I just say that they exist, and I can describe.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think they do exist someplace in the galaxy. They must. I mean, just like when you look at the number of billions and billions of stars with each with a planet or more planets, all of various types and everything. It's hard to imagine that life only exists on our planet.
Exactly. That's what Stephen Hawking said. I got many books of him. He was amazing, and he said that yes, they exist. He didn't know where they are. How could I say where they are? Okay, because many people say, okay, they exist. Tell me where they are. How can I explain it?
But
But
I think
well,
a lot of it is people do not have the same understanding about the scale of the galaxy and about how many suns there are, as stars there are, and how many planets there are, that when when life is just here on Earth and all you see is the sun and all the little stars are like little dots and
they
you
think the only part of the universe is the solar system.
exactly. And
Uh-huh.
if that was true, the idea that there was aliens in the rest of the solar system, in the galaxy, would be probably unlikely, because Earth would be it. But it's so. What do you think it would take for more people to kind of have a better understanding of our place in the universe and that idea that there's so many stars out there with so many planets, and that ours is just one of a trillion different planets.
I mean, you want to ask me how to make them understand that?
Yes.
Well, I think this is not something that's taught in the school. Okay, this is something that should be taught in the school. I think I know everything I know because I investigate. I make some researches. I can show you some if you let me one day. I show you because it's so interesting, and maybe it's that much that I will be able to make a book about. But I think that they the problem is theirs, because uh if they don't if they're not interested, for example, in my case, when I try to explain one of these things, um, they treat me as if I'm crazy, you know like I'm crazy. But they don't even listen to my explanation, which is so interesting at some point, because this is something that they don't know. But the problem is not that they don't know. The problem is that they don't want to know. Um, Actually, what can I do, or what can we do to change their mind? I don't know. This is something that should be interesting for everyone, because it could affect our future and our life at some point.
You made a very interesting comment. It's not that they don't know, it's that they don't want to know.
Exactly.
And that's a very key insight. And if you had to dig into that a little bit more and sort of probe around, why is it that they don't want to know? Like, what do you think makes them not
Maybe
want to know?
because maybe because they have too many problems and too many things to do in their daily life, and they don't think this is a thing that should be considered as an important thing. For example, many people think these are, you know, this is only a topic for crazy people and for conspiranoics and for, you know, everything they can say we are. But yes, it may be that they think this is not something important. Just like, for example, I mm, must do with many things. For example, I don't think the I don't know, I don't think that I think that many things are not interesting, so I don't investigate about those things. Well, that's the same thing that happens with them, but about the universe and about uh, the question of the life in other planets and other galaxies around the universe. I
I
don't know
like,
if you are understanding me. I'm trying
no,
to be as clear as I can.
I understand completely. What I understood you to say was people have a lot to focus on, and they are challenged to kind of know all the things they feel like they should know. That whenever you start talking to them about things way off in another part of the galaxy, they're like, "How does that affect me?" And there's no interest from their standpoint.
Yes, that's it.
And that uh, explained that well way almost sounds reasonable. That there are these things that you absolutely have to know. It's too much for you. And then there's all these other things, and you're struggling to understand the things that you have to know. How do you have time for these other things? I mean, that seems to be the situation, but it's kind of, if suddenly we've learned that there are spaceships from another world that are on their way to the Earth, suddenly knowing that becomes important and urgent.
Yes, that's a fact.
Um, what are some things that people are really excited about that you know of that you have no interest in, and how do you kind of deal with those people?
We're not interested in what we are. Sorry.
Well, I was thinking about switching it around. Things, people around you who are interested in something, but you don't share that interest. How do you deal with them?
Sorry. Let me think. You mean people who are interested in what I'm interested?
Well, maybe people who are interested in something completely different, and they're very excited about this thing that's completely different, but you're not interested in that thing. Do you have such people that you know, and how do you deal with them?
Well, I try to listen to everyone who talks to me, because, well, that's just a thing of being a good person, I think. But if I'm not interested in something, I just try to listen to that person, try to be polite. I try to help if what that person needs help. Um, but of course, in my mind, I will not be thinking with. I will not be, I will not have all the passion to talk about it. I will not be. I will show interest even when I'm not interested.
That makes sense. And who knows? Maybe after you learn about it, you're like, wow, that is interesting.
Yes, it usually happens.
And it's always when people are excited about something, it doesn't matter what it is. If that excitement is genuine and real,
That's what I meant when I said that they didn't. It's not that they don't want to know. I mean, they don't want to know. It's not that they don't know. That's what I meant. I said that they don't even listen to my explanations, to my arguments, to my ideas. And and maybe if they listen, they may be interested after my explanations. I don't know if you get it.
yeah, no, absolutely, I understand. And you bring up a key point. Like if we went back 100 years ago and talked to people about flying on airplanes, uh, people would not be all that interested necessarily because they'd be like, "What does that have to do with me? I'll never fly on an airplane. I don't want to die. If people were meant to fly, they would have wings. The all this thing. And now that people can go to an airport, buy a ticket, and fly, they're interested. And I feel like the same things happen with space is that people are like, what does that have to do with me? I'm not an astronaut, I'm not a billionaire, uh, I'll never go to space. But I think in the next 10 years, people like you and me would be able to get on a spacecraft and go to space for like a
And,
holiday.
and I hope so.
I think definitely. I mean, if you look at what Elon Musk is doing with the Starship, they're talking about,
Amazing.
I mean, if the Starship existed, I could have gone to the Starship base, been in Argentina in 30 minutes. We could have talked in person, and then I could have come back here before the end of the day.
It will be amazing.
Uh, and
Besides, it will make a life more interesting.
especially whenever we can like go to a hotel in orbit and get to float around, or go to the moon. Uh, the, and
It will
everyday people.
definitely change the history of the humanity. It will be something bigger even than the internet, bigger than the airplanes, as you said. It will be the biggest change in the humanity. And that's what many people don't understand. We're getting closer and closer and closer to what will be the biggest change in the history of the humanity.
And it's so funny, even like 30 years ago, if I were to tell people about this device, that you could have the and you could call and you could talk to people and you could look up
Mm.
anything, you could pay for stuff at the store with it.
And then suddenly Steve Jobs appeared, and Apple appeared, and the smartphones and the tail and the yes, iPads appeared. Here we are
And now
talking. Where are you from?
I'm from Houston, Texas.
Houston, Texas. I'm from Buenos Aires, Argentina, which is the capital of the country. And we're talking, you know.
Yeah, and just like nothing. And we don't have to pay extra for it. And we get to see each other. It's like, whoa.
Oh, by the way, I think Texas is the best state of the United States.
Well, we like to think so too. But thank you. Why do you say that?
Bro, I don't know. Well, I'm just 15 years old. You may be surprised. I like talking about politics, and I am, I will not say a big fan of Donald Trump, but I support him. Maybe you can support Biden, and it's okay because these are opinions. It's not facts. This is politics, and politics is about opinions. I support Trump, and it's a Republican state, and Elon Musk lives there. And well, I think that life in Texas for many people is good. Well, I know that big storm has hit Texas uh, in the last weeks. I don't know exactly when, but I know many things about Texas, and I think it's the best state of the United States.
Well, I think there's about at least maybe 50 million people that agree with you.
Yes.
So, but it's really interesting. Uh, I am curious. Yeah, there's been a lot of talks about politics here in the U.S. Donald Trump and Biden and lots of other stuff. It is interesting to me that U.S. politics is of interest to somebody in Argentina. And I kind of be interested in if you could tell me a little bit more about why it interests you and things about Donald Trump that you like.
Well, the situation in Argentina, specifically in the economy, is so complicated. Let me tell you, it's well, actually, I had no, I live so good here because of my personal economy. But if I were an American with everything I have, maybe I will be considered as a poor person, for example. I mean, I don't know how to say the quality of life.
Hmm.
I don't know. Yes,
Yes.
I mean the quality of life is too different. Here we have around 50% of poverty, for example. So these are things that um, we're interested on because it's something that affects our life completely. I don't know if a 15-year-old kid of Texas, for example, is interested in politics or an economy. I don't think so. But well, you tell me. But I don't think they are interested in politics and economy and talking about all things that may not be important for many people, but actually it's the most important thing because without economy, without capitalism, we we wouldn't be able to travel to the moon, to Mars in some years. For example, I live in a socialist country. Socialism has where 100 years ago, my country uh, was the richest country in the world. Even it was richer than the US 100 years ago. And then socialism uh, came to my country and destroyed everything my beautiful country had. There are many things that are not destroyed yet, but they are gonna be destroyed in some years. And specifically, what uh, made me interest in politics and economy was what happened with the pandemic, what affected our economy brutally, and I wanted to know why. And then is where I started looking for books, looking for information. Um, here I am. And I don't know if you ask me why I am a Trump supporter. So called.
Yes, I'd be interested in knowing that.
You're not the fan Trump supporter, okay?
No, one thing I was a fan of was his space policy. The idea of going back to the moon in 2024, his investment in, space, his kind of support for Elon Musk. I like that. The parts I didn't like was he was very, you know, uh,
Rude.
well, there's rude. He seemed very bent on sort of kind of destroying the system, which I think may have actually been part of the appeal of some people in terms of liking him. But I I feel like he did not do a good job in terms of uniting the country. That he was very much trying to create division between parts
Mm.
of the country.
Let me tell you something. This is something you may consider as an important thing, the fact that he may be rude sometimes or all the time. But believe me that if you live in the conditions of my country, this is the last thing you think of. I mean, you are interested in how the president is gonna, you know, how the president is gonna make the economy grow, or he's gonna get the economic growth, how the president is gonna stop, the theft, the murder, you know what I mean, how the president is gonna do everything to make the good for the country. Here we don't have good presidents, but we have presidents who raise the poverty, the inflation. Just in March, we've had 5% of inflation. Just in March.
In 1 month.
Yes.
So
In
in a
the last
year,
3 months, we've had 15%.
so in a year, basically the wealth gets cut in to a quarter what it was. You have $100, and then at the end of that year, you essentially have maybe $25.
Yes. For example, the dollar is very important for Argentina. Why? Because it's the it's I don't know how to say, it's the money that we want. Yesterday, dollar was 130 130 pesos, which is our money. Today it's 150.
Wow.
I mean, and we have inflation. So what we do to win the inflation is buying dollars and having them. So once that the price is higher than when we bought it, we send and we repeat 20 pesos in a day. This is a total raise in a day. This destroys the economy, but it's not dollar's fault. It's because of our central bank. Just like you're fed the same. I mean, well, coming back to what we were talking about, we don't care about how the president treats a journalist. Okay, we don't care about how the president speaks in a speech. We care about what the president do in the facts. Donald Trump created many jobs, and even if Donald Trump appeared a day and said to a journalist and told to a journalist, you are a bullshit. And Donald Trump created the jobs. I'm sure that the 90% of the Argentinians who have voted for Donald Trump voted for Donald Trump because as we live here and as we live our reality, we know what it feels like. I don't care. I mean, just create the jobs and then talk however you want.
You're interested in results and action.
Yes, every Argentinian is interested in that because of our situation. Maybe we have your poverty and your inflation, which is almost nothing. We may be interested in those kind of things, but we're not actually because of our situation.
So you mentioned inflation's a big problem in Argentina, and you use the exchange rate between the dollar and the peso to illustrate this point. I'm curious in prices at the stores. Are you seeing the prices increase drastically over time, or do the prices stay stable, but it's really the exchange rate that's different?
Yes, I don't know how to say it, naphtha oil for the car. So the car can be so you can drive the car. The oil.
Gasoline,
Yes, gasoline
the
or
fuel. Yeah.
fuel. Exactly, the fuel. A month ago it was 4,000 pesos. Today is 8,000 pesos.
Wow. Wow.
And
So a lot
then
of walking. It'd be
the
better to
average
buy.
is 5%. The average is 5%. There are many products that are just a bit higher, many that are a big number higher.
I went
But yes,
to uh,
you can see the difference when you're in the streets, when you're in the store, as you said. And then if you want to buy, for example, a t-shirt, I have just bought like 3 or 4. I don't know if you know Hollister. They are maybe there. It's not an important brand. It's not.
yeah, it's well known here. Hollister is
Well,
well known here.
here Hollister is Hollister. Okay. And it was each of them was like, well, its price was 3,000 pesos. And today, it was a week ago, I think. And today I got into the page on Instagram who sent me, and it's 4,500 pesos.
Wow.
It's just a raise of 1,500 pesos in a week.
Is it easy to buy dollars there?
Well, we cannot buy dollars to the central bank. We buy dollars illegally.
Oh, I see.
I mean, it's illegal, but everyone does that. Even the politicians do that. It's well known what they do. Many, I don't know how to say, ministers,
Ministers, yes.
yes, have been in the news because they bought in a week like around $100,000 in a day illegally. Okay, it wasn't legal. We allowed to buy just like $200 every single month. 200, not 1,000. 200, which is almost nothing. If you want to make the difference with the inflation. so you can have an idea, the wage, the average wage is around $100 in Argentina every month. And if you compare it to, your country, I don't know the specific number, but it's much more than $100.
Yeah, I think the minimum that people would get paid would be like $400 a week, but that would be considered like, the lowest then.
Yes.
I think most people who work full time probably make about 30 or $40,000 a year, with people with college degrees making like 70, 80, 90,000, and a good number of people making like 120, 130, 140, $150,000 a year.
Well, if you take the price of the dollar, if you have here $5,000 or $6,000, you are a millionaire because you
Hmm.
have more than a million pesos just to see. And this is what a person gets every month. But if we, the president, I think, gets $2,000. I mean, people in your country when it gets more than the president of our country, maybe 2 or 3 times what the president of our country gets. Just think of how many times the American people gets more than the Argentinian people.
Hmm.
Not the president, not the politicians, the people. It's a big difference.
Why do you think the Argentinian government doesn't allow people to freely buy dollars? Like how does it benefit them not to allow that?
Because in case they allowed us, um, everyone will go as fast as everyone is able to buy dollars, because
Hmm.
we know that its price will be higher and higher and higher in the next weeks. But just think of that. If everyone buys, the price will be higher than it was going to be
Hmm.
before.
Right.
And actually, our central bank has around $3 billion. I mean, as no reserve. I don't know how to say it.
Right. $3 billion in reserves.
Yes, and we have a debt to pay in the next years, in the next 2 years, and the debt is worth in 45 billion dollars. So we don't have money to pay the debt. So think of the idea that we free the market to buy legal dollars. Everyone will buy them, and the country will be destroyed at some point. I think that's it.
So just to kind of play that back to you, you feel that the reason why there's a limitation on buying dollars is because if they open it up, then the peso to dollar exchange rate would go crazy. It would be like,
Yeah,
a million pesos to a dollar or something like that.
exactly.
And
The same
since
as Venezuela.
and since the Argentinian government has some denominated debts, they would be unable to pay those debts with that exchange rate.
Yes, they will not be able to pay.
That is
Definitely.
an interesting situation.
But let me tell you something. Argentinians have around 300 or $400 billion illegally.
Hmm.
What's the problem? The government's politics. If we had lower taxes, if we had lower regulations, as Donald Trump said, and we allow the people to use the dollars to produce and to create jobs, I'm sure our country will be one of the best countries, uh, economically talking, in the world, because when we had those politics, we were the richest country in the world. It was a process. Um, Latin America generally was really poor, but Argentina in 10 years became the richest country in the world. Why 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 happened that? Because we had the politicians, Donald Trump, for example, talked about lower taxes, lower regulations, you know, with, or just like Ronald Reagan said, when the government says it's gonna help you, I don't know the exact specific words, but when the government says it's gonna help you, the problem is the government.
Yeah, I think one thing you're touching on is does the population feel like they individually need to go out and solve the problems of their lives, or do they feel like that somebody else needs to solve their problems? And so that's sort of the difference between maybe what people talk about between capitalism and socialism.
Mhm.
Socialism is where people say,
Here we're looking for a leader who say us, and that's not what we need. We need a leader who can destroy this system, and not the way Donald Trump said, means destroy the socialism in Argentina, to put the corrupts in jails, and to do the correct policies to make the country great again.
absolutely. Yeah, it's interesting. The values of a culture, of a society, some of those values lead to that society becoming stronger, but then create different views that then lead that society to become weaker. It's like a cycle almost.
Yes, that's a fact. The strong people create great moments. Great moments create weak people, and weak people create weak moments. That's a cycle.
Yes. I I was talking to a friend actually for this project a year ago, and he says comfort kills, and adversity strengthens. That the harder life is, the stronger we become, and the more able we're to um, change and improve life. But the stronger we are, the more comfortable we make life, which then leads to the downfall.
Yes, exactly. I like so much the mind of the Argentinians, but in the last decades, uh, there has something changed. There has changed something. Sorry, and it's that uh, there are many people who live with the bills, the bills that the state or the government gives to the people. I don't know if you get it. And actually, this year, it's uh, it's been said that there is more people who live with the government stimulus bill. It's called stimulus, but it's not stimulus because it's given every month. um, there are more people who live with the stimulus check or bill than the people who work and who have a job. And there are like 15 million workers, and 30 million stimulus checks or bills given every month. I mean, it's crazy. There, there are 15 million people uh, saving other 13 million people who don't work and who do nothing in their houses, and that's a big problem for Argentina. So this is something that you shouldn't do. Just if you listen to Joe Biden or Donald Trump, for example, at the end of the government talked about having a bill. It's not the right idea. I think it's wrong, and I'm not just saying. I'm just proving it. If you listen to your president talking about that, just think of me and just think of Argentina. What happened here? It's a disaster, completely a disaster.
Well, you're a fan of Elon Musk, and I'm also a fan of Elon Musk. I'm curious in what you think about Elon support for this idea of universal basic income. The idea that automation and technology will essentially reduce the number of jobs that we need to fill so much that essentially there won't be jobs for everybody. But yet, at the same token, all these people will still need to eat and have a house and that type of thing, and that there should be a basic level of income that's provided to everybody. I was wondering if you had heard this from Elon and what you thought about it.
I've heard it, and yes, I've heard it. I don't think that that's what we need. I think that, well, if you look, a graphic of the history of the humanity, when the technology appeared, and once it became stronger and became more advanced, uh, the the unemployment rate uh, was lower. I don't know if you had that. When technology advances, there are many new jobs. That's what happened in the history, and I think that's what will still happening. It will still happen. Um, I don't know at what point we will not be able to create new jobs. If we create technology as smart to to eliminate the human job, is because we have the technology to create houses and to create food and to create everything, so we wouldn't have to work. For example, if we get to that level, we we're not close to this, but in that case, it will be cool too. We wouldn't have to work, um, because we have the machines working working instead of us. But I think the same thing that Ellen thinks, and is that um, if we, just in case we, I don't know how to say, let me give me some seconds to explain it because it's so hard to talk. If we interrupt the robots, they will be able to destroy the humanity too. I mean, and that's what the idea of open IA, his corporation. He believes that if we interrupt an action of the robots, it will destroy the humanity easily. Just to understand how good the technology could be and how bad the technology could be at the same time. Okay. One of the most interesting projects of Elon is Neuralink. Neuralink, it's amazing. It's amazing because you can just think of the idea, you can control um, a brain with a computer. I mean, last day he said that there was a monkey playing video games. It's so crazy. Uh, and talking with another monkey by telepathy. You know, this, and I think, I hope he and his teammates are able to control that, because that may become a problem at some point if you can control the mind of the people, not because of felon, because of, for example, the government. Just think of the idea that the government may use it to control the people. And I'm not saying a conspiracy theory. It's what will happen. I'm sure about that, because the government always tries to, to control the people without that machine. Just think of what they will do with that machine. It will be, it will destroy the humanity. I think that it seems to me that Elon will try to control this, and nothing about this will happen. I hope so, and I'm sure about it. I don't know what you think. Tell me.
Well, I mean, I think it's kind of interesting how we create technology to help us, and then that technology can be used by others to monitor us or control us. I mean, I carry my phone with me all the time. It knows where I am. It has a microphone. Uh, Potentially, I've essentially have created the ability for people to spy on me, um, and just so that I could have convenience of having the phone with me. So it's really difficult. Even online, you sign up for a service like Facebook or Twitter, and you have this big long agreement where you give up all these rights, and people just sign up, they hit accept without knowing what they're really giving up. I think um, this idea of um, there's a lot of things that are common practice today that if we went back 10, 20, 30 years, people would be shocked about what we're willing to give up in terms of our privacy and control of our lives. Um, so it's a very
There are many
uh,
people that think that Mark Zuckerberg, Mark Zuckerberg, uh, uses Facebook or Twitter to spy,
mm,
as you said. I mean, and there's a photo where he appears using his computer with the camera, less the camera. Just think this is camera. I don't know how to say it.
covered.
He blacks and he covers his camera and his microphone. Did you see that?
Uh-uh.
There's a
But
photo where he's using it and he covers his camera and he covers his mic. I mean, and then you ask why? Why? And there are many judges, many meetings with the Congress because of private policies with Mark Zuckerberg. Many problems about private policies and privacy.
it is it is an interesting thing. I feel like you and I could probably talk for several days. Um, I had another question, space related. If you could go to space, would you?
Yes, definitely. I have no doubts.
How far would you go? Just to orbit, to the moon, or would you consider yourself even immigrating to Mars for the rest of your life?
Wait, well, I will need to know how smart the technology in the Earth is, because if I'm told that I can travel to the moon and it's our limit, maybe I would like to go to the moon, maybe just a bit closer, because it's dangerous. I understand it's dangerous, but it will be so dangerous at that point. If I'm told that we are able to travel to Venus, for example, uh, I will travel to the moon or without any problem, because it's much closer, sorry, to the Earth than Venus. So I'm sure the travel is going to be, or the journey is going to be great, and I will have fun about the fact of being in space. But yes, if you ask me, seeing how that the humanity is trying to get to the moon, to Mars, why not traveling to the moon? I will agree. I'm just 15, but so I can't do it, but I will agree. And what happens is that if you are not an American, you are not allowed to work on SpaceX. Do you know it?
Yes, because the
National
law,
security. I understand.
yeah.
I understand. That's a good point. And I don't know if I will be able to do it. It depends of how far the technology goes. But in Argentina, we don't have the chance to create those those rockets. No, we don't have the technology and the money and the time to spend on a project similar to the project of the NASA, for example. I mean, it's not even closer. It's not even close, because we have many other problems.
But I look at New Zealand and Rocket Labs. I mean, who would have thought that Rocket Labs would be the second private company to be able to launch things into orbit? And they're a New Zealand company. And New Zealand is a kind of a small country. Um,
Yes, it's a small country, but its economy is great, and there is no poverty, no inflation, there is no unemployment. I don't talk about the how big the country is. I mean, I'm talking about how are the conditions of the country, or how, for example, if you went to if you go to America in the 50s, you wouldn't even think about the idea of going to Mars. Well, I think we are in Argentina, we're in America in the 50s. Argentina is eternally in the 50s. It's not in the in this reality. It's not in the 21st century.
but Chile, there's a aerospace company in Chile that's looking at creating small satellite launches. And that's just right next door to Argentina. Um, how are things do you see different in Argentina versus Chile?
Chile is uh, economically best country in Latin America, with Brazil, I think. So I cannot compare Chile and Argentina. Chile has 5% of poverty. We have 10 more times poverty than Chile. We have. It's not that we don't have the idea in the mind, or we don't have the, or we're not capable to do that. Is that we have many other things to spend time on. You know, I mean, if you have 1 out of 2 kids, no, it's 7 out of 10 kids under the poverty. How can you be able to think about traveling to the space? I mean, if you don't have a house, how can you be able to think about the idea of buying an island, for example? Just, you know, that's what I mean.
But in terms of houses, um, you know, you need building materials to make the house. And then you need the people to actually go and turn those building materials into houses. You know, ultimately that's what you need, right? Does Argentina have the materials to build houses?
Yes, yes, I think it has more materials, as you say, to make houses than many rich countries.
And does it have
The
the people?
mentality of the Argentinian is amazing. I mean, I don't know how to explain it, not because I am not a native speaker, because it's not something that you can explain with words. It's something that you can explain or that you can see daily when you see an Argentinian who is unemployed. He just goes and looks for another employee and works and works and works many hours without any problems, and lives under the poverty, even working that quantity of hours. The mentality of the Argentinian is so great in that, not the mentality of everyone, because as I say, there are many people who don't want to work and who live with the money that the government takes off the people who really work. Sorry. Do you know that? But I think Argentina should be creating rockets, you know, to travel to space. If we had followed the correct road.
Yeah, it's an interesting situation. I will have to study more about Argentina and its economy and people.
I think if Argentinians uh, didn't have this mentality, we will be so much worse. We will be similar to Cuba or to Venezuela. We are not Venezuela because of the mentality of the Argentine. We have had many crises. If you see a graphic, for example, of the Argentine crisis, you see something like this.
Like a
If you
heartbeat.
see Venezuela, yes, if you see Venezuela, you have something like this.
Straight down.
And why is that we have this and then this? Because of the mentality in Argentina. Every time there's a big crisis, the government is changed by the people, not peacefully, but you know what I mean. And I think Argentina is getting closer and closer to that point. I think this year will be the worst year for Argentina in terms of constitution, democracy, and republic. What is gonna come? It's so hard. Just think of the the idea that Argentina has had the largest lockdown in the world. We've been in our houses for 120 days. We couldn't go see a friend, a familiar. We've been in lockdowns, uh, in large lockdowns, and many people, is unemployed now, and the restaurants, 1 out of 5 restaurants or bars or cafeterias disappeared last year. And what the government is trying to do this year is to get us into another lockdown. I mean, I just think that the first day that the government puts us into another lockdown is the day that the government is gonna fall. The day that the government is gonna be taken out by the people with many protests, many riots. What you saw in the capital on January 6th is something surreal for the Americans, for example. I mean, I don't know how you reacted to this.
It was very unexpected and shocking.
It was shocking. This is something that happens in Argentina, but it happens. It is longer, man, and the people is it's with many more people, and it's less peaceful. I don't know if there has been tried to kill the president once in 2001. The people were tired of our president, so they were in the streets protesting, and they were not trying to take off the president, to take our president. But when the president stated that, I don't know how to say it, it's like when you're not able to get to go out from your house, but it's not a lockdown. When
It's like
the military
curfew,
goes out,
like curfew or a martial law.
for example, yes, the people were in the street protesting peacefully, and the president stated the martial law, so everyone went to the pink house. We have the pink house here. You have the White House. You have the pink house.
Oh,
So
we had the
everyone
White
went.
House. You had the Pink House.
Yes, everyone went to the pink house. The people were really angry, and they wanted to take out the president. And actually, that week we have had 5 different presidents in a week.
In a week.
Yes, in a
Wow.
week.
The Monday president, the Tuesday president, the
I
Wednesday
mean,
president.
the original president escaped in a helicopter. The people were protesting in front of the pink house, and suddenly there's a noise. Then the people looked up, and they saw the helicopter with the president escaping and the vice president escaping. And then we've had a president who was like, an hour in his church. It was crazy. And after that, the economy of Argentina fell 10%. It was this. But then in the next 10 years, each year, Argentina Argentina had economic growth of 7% per year.
Hmm.
So it was this and this and this and this and this until 2011. I mean, 10 years of economic growth. Since 2011, we've been like this, and now since 2018, we've been like this, like this. 2020, we fell 15%,
Hmm.
the biggest fall in our history. And now it's been said that we're gonna have an economic growth of 10%. I mean, that's what I say when you see a graphic. We have, but I think this is because of the mentality of the people, not because of a government. I think that the crises are made by the government.
Well,
I don't know if you are understanding me.
I
I'm
am.
trying to explain you this as well as I can.
No, it's clear. I completely understand. The causes of it require more investigation, but I understand what you're talking about in terms of the situation.
Well, um, I have to leave the Zoom in 5 minutes
I
because
do too.
I had to play basketball. But I would like to talk another day if you want. I don't know why what we're talking about play, by the way, but if we can talk about another day, and I would like you to send me a link with the entire video of this because I want to show my parents. I mean, they will be surprised by my English level. I know it's not such an English level, but it's for Argentina, you know, it's a great level. I know it.
It is. It's your English is amazing.
Thanks.
Well, good luck with your basketball game. I hope you win, and I will send you the link as soon as it's up. And I do hope to
Okay,
talk again.
I hope so. Well, thank you.
Thank you. Bye
Bye.
bye.